So here I am with a life coach. Shaquan Tabb-Grove is with me. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are
I'm
you?
great. I'm great. I'm great. I'm great. So your story, because this is how you sent me a note, and I was very interested in your story because you had a regular job like all of us,
Yes.
but this was something you always wanted to do, and you decided to just step out on faith. And how's that been going?
It's been going well. It's been going well. I tell anybody if you want to take that leap of faith, you will land on your feet.
What was the determining factor for you to finally jump though? Because I know it's not you didn't wake up one morning and say, "Hey, I'm going to do this." So, what was the determining factor for you to jump?
Well, for me, it was that burning desire inside that said, okay, you are working in a job that you like, but you don't love. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like there was more. And I began to really look into spiritual gifts and purpose and understanding that everyone was put here for a specific reason. And I wanted to follow what my passion and my purpose was, which was coaching.
I got you. I got you. And who needs a life coach, Shaquan? Who needs one?
A life coach can be beneficial to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Really, anyone that may be stuck or may be unsure of what their next move is within their life, or in my specific area within their relationship. Anyone that needs a roadmap, a guide, someone to help them kind of figure things out after they've kind of exhausted all possibilities.
Wow. So, and I guess because I mean, you hear so many times about relationships that seem to be there's a lot of cheating going on.
Yes.
And I don't know. It's a lot of it going on, and a lot of times when we talk about this on my radio show, a lot of women say a man cheats on me, that's a wrap. There's no way I can take him back.
Ooh.
That's that
You
boy.
know,
That's a steep hole to dig yourself
it
into.
is. It really is, and it's definitely personal, opinion. It's one of those things you never say never because
You put yourself in a
you just
box.
don't.
Yeah, you put yourself in a
You do.
box.
You absolutely put yourself in a box. For me personally, cheating isn't a deal breaker. I would have to really look at everything to find out what was missing. I believe that people cheat because of a lack of something within their relationship. So for me, I would go back and say, okay, let's do an evaluation and find out what went wrong, what was missing. And then whatever, if it was something that I have to own, I own it.
Mm-hmm.
If it was something outside of everything that I've been doing for my husband, then, then we have to take next steps and see what's next and what's best for our family and for our relationship.
So I would imagine that in the course of these counseling sessions, it's very, very hard to get a man to open up.
Not all the time. I've actually found that the men want to speak. They want to have a voice. They want to have someone that hears them. And I've done very well with connecting with men and allowing them to see that I'm not judgmental. I'm not on team wife or team girlfriend. I'm on team truth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my job as the coach to be that extra set of eyes to look at the entire playing field or the entire relationship and then listen to what each individual is saying and really help them to see things from a different perspective.
Now I know that like in your sessions and things like I said a minute ago, some women will say if he cheats on me, it's a wrap, right?
Yeah.
But you almost can understand why a woman would say that because if she takes him back and he does it again, now the woman's twice as humiliated, twice as hurt, and twice as embarrassed.
Yeah, it's putting that pride aside really, and putting that ego, and then letting those outside distractions exit out the situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about what works best, what you believe, and rebuilding that trust. And through coaching, that's another thing that we that coaches do, and me specifically, to really help you dig into what the core of the issue is, and to start rebuilding that trust and really get the couple or the individual to move forward.
Well, that's great. I just always imagined that for some reason men just have a hard time opening up. Men are because a lot of men that I talk about my wife all the time. Talk about how much
Yeah.
I love my wife, and men cannot do that for some reason. And I had a conversation one time with Steve Harvey about this because as you know, his wife Marjorie, he
Yeah.
just loves the air she breathes. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
that's
It
awesome.
is
Yeah.
awesome, but You know, and I asked him one time because a lot of men used to tell me, "Oh, I need your player card." Well, I'm married. I don't have a player card.
Yeah.
I don't have a player card. So, and he said that he when guys give him a hard time about that, about how much he talks about Marjorie, that he wears that as a badge of honor.
That's beautiful. You know, and I know a lot of men do love their wives and appreciate their wives and don't mind saying, you know, this is my wife and this is the vow and the commitment that I took. I just think that it's a misconception within relationships as whole that men just don't love, and they do. They love just as hard as women do, and men want to commit. Women don't make them commit is what the problem is. And when you're not made to do anything or you're not challenged, then why commit? Why stay faithful?
Who benefits more when a couple move in together?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think both of them are can see the benefit in that, simply because for me, and this is a debatable question that we've talked about before on my blog, which is ahousetolove.com, where we discuss life, love, and relationships. And I think it's beneficial for both, because here you have two people that are coming together from two separate ideas, two separate, you know, upbringings, and trying to combine them as one. So it's a good opportunity to really get to know each other before you take that next step into marriage, because it's completely different. No matter what anybody says, marriage is completely different from just dating. Completely.
Well, so I've said on the radio that I think that a woman doesn't benefit as much as a man does when they live together. Now, having said that, I lived with my wife for 8 years before I married her. It was the biggest mistake I ever made, because I should have married her. I should have married her 8 years before I did. Do you think people in relationships these days, do you think they move too fast?
You know, I think that's debatable. I think that you set the expectation up front of what the end goal is, and then you work through the challenges and any of the things that come in the middle of that. I think we want it so bad sometimes, especially as women. We want it so bad. We get to a stage where we're at a certain age and we don't have any children, and you want it because that's what most of us are taught. Like, you get married, you have kids, you live happily ever after. But, you know, it's just really about trusting your instinct, trusting your intuition, and really being truthful about what the goal of both people are. I tell people all the time, there's this thing called that I name false hope. You know, when you know that something's not real, when you know that this other person isn't committed, but you go into this sense of hoping that it will, when you know it's false. It's not really going to happen, but you hang in there for the wrong reasons.
So here's the question. This is a $64,000 question that I have more debates about than any other question when it comes to relationships.
Okay.
All right. Do more men cheat or not cheat?
Oh, not.
You see, that's what I say. I say more men. To me, the reason why it seems like more men cheat is because that's all. We never give men who are loyal and faithful to their wives. We don't talk about them because that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Yep.
But the men who do cheat, they get all the shine because they do some horrible things.
Yes, I agree.
And I also tell women this, because they say, well, all the men I know cheat. I said, well, that says a lot about you and the circle of friends that you have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am surrounded by men who are excellent husbands and excellent fathers. Don't fall on that excuse of, well, I didn't have an example growing up, or, you know, my mother wasn't married, I didn't know any, you know, none of that. That is just complete excuse, because you have to hold yourself accountable and you have to know the difference between right and wrong.
But Shaquan, to me, I think there is some validity in that. Not to the point where you can use it as an excuse, but if you never saw a loving relationship, then what do you have to base your relationship on if you've never seen it? Well,
I say define it.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, if you've never seen it, if a kid, a young boy, grows up never seen a good male role model, then how does he know how to be a good man?
Okay, so I would ask, what did you see growing up?
Okay,
and what experiences did you take from that? How did it feel? You know, if you grew up without a male role model and there were nights and days that you desired to have that relationship, then do something different. do something different from what you know. Step out there, let go of your ego, which is a lot of the
That's
issue,
true.
and decide and make a choice to do something different. It sounds like it's so hard, but I think that it's all about that choice and saying, you know what, this is the way I grew up. I didn't like how it felt. So I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try to be open and communicate. I'm going to try to see what it feels like to be committed. Do something different.
Right, right. So, and I think part of it also is interpretation. You know, I have these two first cousins. They're brothers. They grew up in the same house with the same parents. Now, my uncle drank, right? Not to the point where he couldn't work, but he like on the weekends he liked having a good time, right? He drank a lot of beer. He didn't cheat on my aunt. He drank at home, and you know he just drank beer. He'd be outside working. He drank beer. He drank beer all day, right? So a lot of times he'd be drunk, right? Now the older son kind of took after him.
Okay.
Well, it's what he saw. It's acceptable behavior, right?
Yeah.
The younger son saw the same thing, and to this day doesn't drink anything, any alcohol. He doesn't drink because it turned him off. So it's really, sometimes it's a matter of interpretation. I've run across a lot of men who have had no relationship with their father, never had a man in the house, never had a male mentor, and they couldn't hold a woman to save their life, and they got 5, 6 kids, right? At the same time, I've met men in the same predicament who are fantastic husbands, fantastic fathers, brothers, uncles, nephews, and they're good men. They were well adjusted. How does that happen, Shaquan?
I think it really goes back to choice, you know, and deciding to do something different. It's really tapping into your inner self and the core of who you are. You cannot allow who you were, as far as who you were raised, who your parents or your parent taught you to be. It comes to a point where you have to decide really to invest in knowing yourself, to dig inside your real conscious and to really say, okay, yeah, I saw that stuff growing up, but I didn't like how it felt. I didn't like how it looked. So I'm going to make a conscious choice to do something different instead of falling into the temptations and falling into the easy way, which is to follow this example when you know that it didn't look good, it didn't feel good, but it's easier for you to fall into that pattern instead of challenging yourself to do something different.
But you know what? I tell my kids this all the time. Man, it's hard being a good person.
It is.
But you know why? But you know why it's hard? Because the end result is great and worth celebrating.
Absolutely.
It is. Now for people who are watching this, and Shaquan's a smart woman, so she knows. So I'm just going to say this. I've been asking her these questions as examples as to what a great life coach she is. And I hope I've been giving her scenarios and I've been throwing things at her and she's had an answer, a good answer for everything. So if you're in a relationship and it's kind of hit the skids a little bit, this is really the woman you want to go to. This is the one you want to talk to, and bring your man, or fellas, bring your woman to. I've had men come to me crying because they love their woman and it just ain't working. Yeah. And they're willing to go to counseling, and to me, you'd be the one to address their issues because you're giving it to them straight. You don't have a problem telling somebody when they're wrong. No. Now, I want to ask you this before we wrap up. I want to ask you this. I want to ask you to tell me about the blog.
Oh, the blog. It's called A House to Love, and we're at www.ahousetolove.com, and it's a life, love, and relationships blog. I am the main contributor. We also have what we call an in-house sports fanatic, and his name's Terrence Watkins. He does metaphorically speaking, where he talks about sports and life and kind of wraps it into one. He's a husband and a father of 2 girls. Wow. So you know how this is.
Yeah,
so
man.
He really brings a really deep perspective from that man's man to, you know, being that daddy's, you know, little girl type of concept. And then we have our in-house bachelor, who is Jay Davis. He is the ultimate bachelor and kind of brings a perspective of what he sees with the ladies around, like just his experiences, like, you know, don't just give it to us all. Have Mr. Lewis Terrell, who is our in-house personal development coach, and he really brings that meaning through his writings of this is what it is. If you're stuck in the hard place, or you know, if you need to not be a knockoff, be who you are,
Right.
trust your instincts type of feel. And then our co-founder, Angel Watkins, she writes for us as well, and provides a really personal perspective on things that have happened in her life.
So that is Shaquan Tabb-Grove. She is a life coach. Now, what's the name of it? It's PRT.
PRT Coaching Services.
Okay, and and the website is?
It's CoachShaquan.com.
That's SHQUAN. And if you can't spell coach, you got other problems. You know what I'm saying? You got other people you need to see. So
exactly, it's SHAQUAN.
Right, CoachShaquan.com.
Yes. And it's PRT Coaching Services. PRT stands for Perception, Reality, and Truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's a concept that I developed that shifts my clients' thinking from the perceptions, which are misleading, to the reality, which is temporary, to the truth, which stands strong and solid, which is where we want to live in our lives, to live in the truth.
That's a great point, man. You're inspiring. You have answers to questions, and I think that's what people are looking for, answers.
Yeah.
People are looking for answers, and when you can give them answers, I think that's a great thing, But I think part of though is before I let you go, part of it is because I used to see a therapist, and his job, he told me, my job is not to solve your problems.
Yeah.
My job is to help you solve your problems.
Absolutely. That's definitely the process of coaching. It's I'm hearing what you're saying, and all I'm doing is taking what you're thinking and just asking you questions that help you move forward. Non-judgmental, confidential. It is a process that I believe everyone should take advantage of, to have a life coach, specifically me.
Okay, I heard that. Yeah, nothing wrong with that either. Go and read the blog. You can get a lot of inspiration from reading it. It's housetolove.com is the website. Shaquan Tabb-Grove has been my guest on Talking 360, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.